Another paycheck gone before you know it? Is debt keeping you up at night? Does dealing with money make you feel lost or even a little clueless? Hey, it's more common than you think, and you're definitely in the right place. TSBA is your financial starting line. No shame, no confusing jargon. Just clear direction to build confidence and take control. Let's get started together. All right, kids, welcome to the show. If you're like me and you've got some investments, all this talk of tariffs and whatnot is getting on your nerves, literally and figuratively. Today, I'm going to talk about places to put your money to try and keep it safe. So, if you have money and you want to keep it safe and you don't want to lose it, we're going to go through a list of the top kind of like 10 different ways of dealing with your money. But I'm going to kind of do it a little different today. I'm going to do like number 1, where I tell you the safest, and number 10, I tell you the worst place to put your money. Again, always, if you don't know what you're doing, always seek professional help with your finances. I'm not here to influence you. I'm just here to educate you a little bit and take what you will from what I say. I don't promote any specific bonds or any specific ETFs. I try not to. Sometimes I'll mention them, but I'm not trying to force you into buying these things or convince you to buy these things. I just do my due diligence, do your due diligence, buy what you're comfortable with, believe in what you're buying. Okay, so the number 1 place, again, now I'm not talking about making money right now. Right now, I'm just talking about being able to hold on to your money. Again, I want to make that clear. For the first one, it's basically insured high yield savings accounts and short term government bonds or T bills. These are extremely safe. It's almost impossible to lose your money on these. So that's the first place. So basically, in Canada, the Canadian government, if a bank fails in Canada, you're insured up to $100,000, right? So that's a pretty good insurance policy. If you have more than $100,000 in the bank, then you're only going to be insured for 100 if the bank crashes. But Canadian banks are pretty solid, some of the best in the world. So we'll talk about that. So that's the number 1, which I would say is just a high yield savings account. That's going to be your first choice. Number 2 could be something like a high grade corporate bond. And again, government bonds, but longer term government bonds. The safety level is pretty high. It's pretty safe. A little more risky than number 1, obviously. But high grade corporate bonds, that's a good way to hold on to your money and make a little bit of money at the same time. Again, you gotta remember that these the first 2 are definitely lower potential returns, right, than stocks. So again, I'm not talking about making tons of money. I'm just talking about if you're really nervous and you're stressed out and maybe you're a little older, and you just want to hold on to your money, the first 2 are probably a good way to go. Then there's broad market ETFs that cover the S&P 500, the TSX 60, things like that. I like, personally, my portfolio is 75% Canadian, 25% American. I was buying American when Obama's first term, so I've held on to these for a long time. I know a lot of shit's going down in the States, but you know what? I'm not going to sell 25% of my portfolio because I'm pissed, right? I am holding on to that. But I do like to invest in Canada. I mean, it's my country, and I feel as a Canadian citizen, again, different strokes for different folks, right? Some people think like, well, I'm an idiot for putting 75% of my portfolio in the TSX and Canadian companies when I can make way more money in the S&P 500, which is true. I know that's why 25% of my portfolio is there. But I also believe that I'm a Canadian and I'd like to buy Canadian. I think if more people bought Canadian stocks and believed in Canadian companies, guess what? We wouldn't be so dependent on the U.S., right? It's like a lot of people are like, I hate the U.S., but we're always watching their TV shows, we're watching their Super Bowl, so you gotta take what you say personally with a grain of salt, right? If you want to invest in your country, you got to invest in your country. There's no other way around it, right? So I try and do my share, and hopefully some of you will do too. And there's a lot of people who buy Canadian. I'm not the only guy, right? Okay, so number three, I was a little less secure, moderate level, a little more volatile than bonds and savings, but they're still really good, right? So ETFs are good if you track like I say, the S&P 500, TSX 60, and things like that. They're pretty good for long-term growth, and they're a little more risky, obviously, because I'm moving up the list, right? I'm getting a little riskier each time. So this one is a little riskier, but it's moderate. I think a good ETF that follows the market is in the long term. I think you'll do pretty good. Number four, let's see, we're going to go with the diversified mutual funds. Okay, actively managed ETFs, those kinds of things. So mutual funds and actively managed ETFs, those are a little more risky. Still moderate. You're not gonna. There's a good chance you're gonna make money and not lose it, but it's a little more risky. Very similar to ETFs, mutual funds, and actively traded ETFs are just a little more. Instead of just tracking the S&P 500, they're actually buying and selling companies here and there. If one does bad, they might remove it and replace it with another one. So that kind of thing, right? Yeah, and you got to also remember that these funds are managed by professionals, right? It's not just guys like me who are going out there trying to create a mutual fund or an ETF, right? And you're probably gonna make a few bucks on that too. But also know that actively managed fees and mutual funds, they got higher fees. So expect to pay a little bit more in fees. Again, I'm moving up the ladder here to riskier and riskier. Individual stocks, large companies, obviously moderate to riskier, moderately low to moderately risky. Does go up, but usually big companies share, like Costco's and Walmart's and Superstore, and it looks like someone like BC or BCE, which is Bell Canada. Very solid company, but I mean their stock, from their peak, as in the last few months, has dropped about 50% from their peak, right? So they're still paying out a dividend, but it's still that's a pretty big company in Canada, and there's still nervousness there, so you can't lose money. That is the market, you know. Then there's real estate. Okay, that'll be number six. Real estate. Buying REITs or direct ownership, like actually buying a property, right? If you buy a property, well, you're going to be paying um, interest rate on that, right? The bank interest on your mortgage and stuff, unless you're buying out cash. And most of the time, property value goes up. It's it happens and it goes down, like we saw 2008, the bubble that did happen there. So real estate's a good way to go. REITs are a conglomeration of different real estate types. You can have apartment buildings and stores and things like that. Downside to having real estate is a little bit more difficult to sell it quick and get your cash. Unless you have a fair amount of equity, then you can pull cash out. But again, we're going riskier and riskier as we move down or up the chart. So real estate, yeah, not as moderately safe, but hard to get your cash out when you need it. All right, so number seven, we'll call it small cap and growth stocks. So that's low to moderately low. Definitely more volatile and riskier than the big blue chip stocks, like I was saying, like the Loblaws and the Shopify's and the Costco's and the Coca-Colas and Pepsi's and stuff like that. We're moving up here a little more risky. Small caps, it's just the volatility is there because you never know with these small caps if there's an economic downturn and people stop spending their money, go into a recession. smaller companies are less financially stable, right? So there's more chance of them going bankrupt and stuff like that. Okay, so my number 8 choice right now, and I know a lot of you are going to lose your shit when I say this if you know anything. Cryptocurrencies. Okay, so I am personally, I know a few people who made some good money on crypto, and I know a lot more people who've lost money on crypto. I think it's very speculative, extremely volatile. I mean, right now, depending on when you bought your Bitcoin, right now, as of this morning, let me just check here. I think Bitcoin was down, this since November 2024. I think it's down like 40% or something. I shouldn't say that. Let me just see here. 1 year. When are we here? So, well, 1 year we're up. So you could have bought in 1 year. You could have bought. You'd be up about 34% in 1 year, which is a really good return. But if you purchase, let's say you purchase your Bitcoin in December, well, now you would be down. It was 106,000 in December, and now it's 84,000. So, and I mean, it's a beautiful little roller coaster. I'm not a fan of Bitcoin. I'll just tell you that right now. I have friends of mine who swear by, all those digital currencies. I'm not a fan. But, if you can hit it right, you can make some money. That's the whole point, right? That's the big, that's the big level there. You want to be like, like go big or go home, right? Okay, so number 9, penny stocks, meme stocks, all kinds of stocks. Like the penny stocks, I got into penny stocks when I first started investing. I thought, oh, you know what? Like, I had like about $1,000, I think, or maybe $2,000, and I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna take 2 grand, put it in this account, and start buying stocks and just kind of see how. And my brain at the time was like, well, I'm gonna do penny stocks because I can get more for my money. But then after about a year, I ended up, I think I ended up making about $50 or something like that in a year, and the amount of time that I spent uh, dealing with penny stocks, I was probably making about, probably a penny a day, I think, when you break it down. But penny stocks, yeah, they're very small companies, trade at very low prices, and hard to make liquid, hard to pull your money out, and they're very prone to manipulation, pump and dump schemes all the time. I mean, I fell for it when I first started. I was like, oh my god, the stock's gonna go up. Look at this, and then it goes from 1 penny to $1, and the next day it drops down to 1 penny again, right? And believe it or not, it took me a little while to learn, but I finally did. So if you believe in a company or you want to try it, go for it. But I'll tell you, penny stocks not a way to hold on to your money. My number 10 choice is the worst possible thing you can do. It's guaranteed to lose your money, basically, especially over time. And it's called gambling apps. Yes, high stake gambling. Now I see so many casino games and sports betting and just designed to quote unquote entertain yourself, uh, and yet I still know so many people who put money down on this stuff and just actually think they're going to beat the house. Now, I mean, there's a reason that these gambling app stocks are skyrocketing and are they're making lots of money. It's because a lot of people are losing it. So number 10 for me is gambling apps and high stakes gambling. If you want to lose your money for sure, I would go that way. You're pretty much guaranteed over time to lose all your money. So anyways, hope you guys had a little bit of fun with that top 10 there, going from best to worst. Uh, you know, it's fun. So anyhow, so just remember number 1 is the least risky is insured high yield savings accounts and short-term government bonds. So high yield savings account and short-term government bonds, that's your number 1 pick there. If you want to hold on to your money and you don't want to lose any, you're not going to make much. Interest is low right now, but still, you know what? If you lock into a GIC or something like that at 3%, that obviously your money's not liquid because it's locked in, but you won't lose it. So anyhow, I hope you guys had fun listening to this one today. Yeah, that's about all I got to say about that. All right, I'm going to get back to work on my other stuff, and hope you guys have a good day.